Martha Edwards have worked for The Sun for almost 50 years, and 46 of those covering the royal family. And today I'm going to show you some of my favourite pictures.
For over 45 years, Arthur Edwards has been The Sun's royal photographer. Since 1977, he's captured the many highs and lows of our royal family and brought them to a worldwide audience. Over his career, he's photographed 7 royal weddings, 5 funerals, 8 royal births, a coronation, and followed our royal family around the world, forming a bond that goes beyond the lens. His level of trust within the family has seen him catch candid and intimate moments on camera that might otherwise have remained private. To date, he's been present for nearly 4,000 royal engagements in over 120 countries. But it was his first job, in pursuit of a young Prince Charles, the most eligible bachelor in the world at the time, which would kickstart his life's work.
In 1977, 78, the editor then said, look, I'd like someone to find out who's Prince Charles is going to marry, because he'd said that when he was 30 was about a good time to marry, and he was 28 and he'd just come out the Navy. So I was given this job and I thought, oh my God, where do you start? And I thought, well, he's still in the Navy, so I went down to Harwich, where his ship HMS Bronington was berthed. I was there 3 days, never laid eyes on him. I thought, oh my God, this is going to be miserable. But he started playing polo, and I went to the polo matches, and I was amazed, you know, they would let me go so close. I was getting really good pictures week after week, but not finding the girlfriend. Several girlfriends, but none to marry. And the reason I say that is because when he was parading these girlfriends, he was parading them. But as soon as he took Diana to the polo, it was all in secret. And I thought, my God, so who is Diana Spencer? I was told she was there with him, and I walked around this arena. I found Diana and I said to her, excuse me, I said, may I take your photograph, please? And she said, yes. And she posed up, and I checked with the office, and I said, who's Lady Diana Spencer? He said, well, she's the youngest daughter of Earl Spencer. I said, how young? He said, well, she's just had her 19th birthday. And I thought, King's 29, 30. He's not running around with teenagers. So I thought, so I rang the office and said, I've sent a picture back, sent some film back, but don't print it because I'm not sure. I said, you know, I don't think he's running around with teenagers anyway. A month later, I was up at Royal Deeside, driving to the Braemar Games. Prince Charles is fishing in the river, and who's with him? Lady Diana Spencer. I immediately alerted the royal reporter at the time, Harry Arnold, and he put this wonderful piece together, and we splashed on it, and the headline was, he's in love again, and my picture of her posing at the polo was on the front, and underneath it was, Lady Diana Spencer, all the qualities to be queen. Before Charles met Diana, he was Britain, the world's most eligible bachelor. And every winter time he would go skiing in Switzerland, in close to this. And we would turn up there, mob of photographers and reporters. And every day, we agreed not to chase him on the slopes, but every day we would see him off in the morning, and we'd check when he came back in the evening. And this is the picture that I'm very proud of. This was, and so we check in one evening when he's back there, and he's fine. He's gone in, and we've all walking back to the hotel. And I saw, so I've left my camera bag up there. So I went back up there, and of course there he was, sledging down a slope on a kid's sledge. And I grabbed the camera out the bag, put a flash on, bosh that, and got one frame of that. And so it was the front page headline with Prince Wiz. It's not the best quality in the world, but it made the front page, and that's what matters. A good picture and a bit of luck. I didn't know where Lady Diana Spencer worked. I knew she was a nursery assistant. So I went round, got a list of nurseries, and went round the West End asking if she worked there. And about the third or fourth one I came to was the Young England Nursery in Pimlico. I knocked on the door, and the woman came out. I said, excuse me, I said, I'm from the Sun newspaper. I said, does Lady Diana Spencer work here? She said, she does. I said, would you ask her if she'd come and post a photograph for me, please? I'll ask her, she said. She comes out, she said she will, but she wants to have 2 of the children from the nursery. I said, is it okay to photograph the children? Obviously, you have to check that. She said, oh, yes, fine. She came out, and I put her by the tree in the garden next to it. And I've had some criticism for this picture as well. There's some praise. The praise coming from the editor, of course, who put it on the front page. And the headline was Charlie's Girl. But the criticism from people that thought I deliberately put her in the sun to show that she had no petticoat. It's not true. I put her there, and halfway through taking the pictures, the sun came out. And so I was lucky. And I still think it's one of the best pictures I ever took. When Lady Diana Spencer saw this, she said, oh my God, she said, I'll be known for the girlfriend who didn't have a petticoat. But this is probably my favourite picture, because it was a great picture at my career. I was really, I'd set out to find out who he was going to marry, and I'm certain this was the one, although he hadn't proposed at this stage. But I was so certain, and she was just lovely. And as I say, those children, we didn't know their names, but one of them, I think the little girl here, when she became a model, she rang me and asked me if I'd come and take some pictures of her. And I took her back to the park exactly there and did some pictures of her there. Went 20 years later. So, she had a good memory of it, but I have a much better one because, as I say, this was page 1, Charlie's Girl. I think it was a year and just under a year they were married. So, a lovely picture. I'll never forget the wedding that summer in July. The whole of the summer was like amazing. Everybody was like people trying to get views of the dress and chasing the dressmaker, finding out if they knew anything, could tell us anything. Of course they wouldn't. In fact, the dressmakers made 2 dresses in case we got one of them, and so they had a backup. But this is, and I say, people say to me, what's your greatest talent? I say I'm lucky, and I am lucky because I was driving to work one morning. That's when our office was in Fleet Street, and I used to drive past St Paul's, and this was the Wednesday before the wedding. And I look over and I thought, that's Prince Charles's car. So I pulled up, left the car, double yellow lines, grabbed the camera, rushed across Paternoster Square, and as they did, they were walking out after the rehearsal. And as they walked down the steps, Diana went out and reached and held Prince Charles's hand like that. Just when she saw me, she just reached out and held his hand. And strangely, I never saw them do that again, ever. But I remember this picture, it was on the front page of the paper the next day. And Diana looked painfully thin and pleased, and it says, Princess Diana looking lovely, please don't lose any more weight. But as most brides want to be slim and thin for their wedding dress, so we figured she was just getting ready for it. But what it was the early stages of anorexia. But we didn't know anything about that then. And so this is what I mean by being lucky, But having recognised your luck, you've got to do something about it. And as we'll go through this programme, I'll mention that a few times because sometimes I think someone's taking care of me because some of the situations I was lucky. Princess Diana was so proud of William, and she used to invite us a pool down to Kensington Palace to take pictures of William. And this one particularly I love because William's scratching his head with his left hand. And this picture published, because it was a pool picture, and every newspaper published on the front page. And them days, of course, I got a picture. You never got a byline in another newspaper, because the competition was so fierce. But I remember the Daily Express was a huge selling paper at the time. Put my name under the picture, and I thought I was thrilled. But anyway, what's important about this picture is this lovely reporter I worked with, Harry Arnold, said that I bet he's left-handed. I said, well, you know, how do you know? He said, well, you know, he's instinctively put his left hand up and scratched his head. Anyway, 10 years later, in Cardiff, doing his first engagement with Princess Diana, and he signed the visitor's book with his left hand, so they were quite prophetic words. Sometimes you need to, in this job, you need to follow your instincts. And in spite of other people warning you not to do that, you should still do it. This was in India, in Agra, and the big picture is going to be Diana at the Taj Mahal. Now I agree that is a big picture, but before that, she was going to visit the Red Fort, which is about a mile away from the Taj. The whole of the press corps went straight to the Taj and set up. But I went to the Red Fort, and when we got to up the top of the Red Fort, Diana said to me, "Where do you want me, Arthur?" And I saw the Taj Mahal shimmering in the background, and so I put a long lens on, and I shut the stop down as much as I could, 22, to get as much depth of focus as I could. And I took this picture, and you can see the Taj Mahal shimmering in the background, which is about a mile away. But that's one of my favourite pictures of Diana. The picture of the Taj Mahal everybody remembers, but I know 40 other photographers took that as well. But this was exclusive. And I took a chance and it paid off. The marriage broke down, and Prince Charles had given an interview to BBC, and we admitted committing adultery with Camilla. After he said his marriage irretrievably broke down. But Diana that day was going to I think an art exhibition at the Serpentine Gallery in Hyde Park. So that was the place to be. I got there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and at 8 o'clock at night she turned up. And it was in July, I remember the sun was setting, and she got out of the car. Normally she gets out of the car and walks straight into the door, but because she was wearing this amazing dress, she stopped the car 100 yards away and walked towards us like a supermodel. And this picture was just sensational. And although the next day the story was all about Charles and the adultery, the picture was this one, my picture of Diana looking absolutely $1 million. The thing is, Versace had put out a statement saying that their dress she was going to wear. Diana got wind of that and immediately went to her little black number in the wardrobe and got this one. I can't remember the name of the designer now, but of course she wore this, and she absolutely, oh my God, it was a sensational picture. And everybody was putting it was a Versace dress, but of course it wasn't. She changed her mind, and like women can do. But that evening, I've never forgotten it. It was just, it was a long wait. I think a 12, 14-hour wait, but it was worth it. In fact, at home, I've got this amazing picture of about 50 photographers all there to take this snap. And yeah, it's a great memory, great memory. All these pictures we're talking about today are still very much in my mind, because when you take a great picture, a sort of little light bulb goes off in your head. You think, my God, that's great. And I show these pictures when I give talks to different groups and companies, because I'm so proud of them as well. Of course, over the years, I did concentrate a lot on Prince Charles, but of course, the person that mattered most was the Queen Elizabeth. A lady who you could sort of almost guarantee every engagement she would do exactly the same thing. She would always arrive on time. She would get out the car first, the Duke would follow. She would shake hands with the Lord Mayor, and the Duke would shake hands with the Mayoress and follow. And the Queen would politely go around and talk to people. You had to be patient, patient, patient. Because when the Queen smiled, her face lit up. Absolutely, I mean, she became a completely different person. And this is one of my favourite pictures of the Queen. This was at the Derby, And every year I go to the Derby. Every year I went to the Derby because of her, because she was so relaxed there, because it's one of the greatest lovers of her life, racing. And this is at the end of the races, and the lady behind her, Lady Angela Oswald, must have told her a joke, because the Queen is roaring with laughter now. You didn't see that very often. You saw her smile, but you never see the head go back. And this was a sequence, and we ran this in the paper. Even though this was on a Saturday, we ran this paper in the Monday, that means it's a really strong picture, and it held up for 2 days. And this has been used time and time again in features on the Queen. It's one of my all-time great favourites of her. This picture is another favourite of mine, because this was at RF Coltishall in an RF base in Britain, and this picture is a favourite of mine as well, because even though you can't see the Queen's face, you know it's the Queen. And this is the RAF display of fighter planes doing a run over the base. And I asked the press lady at the day, could I go and stand behind the Queen? She said, yes, I did. And I got this amazing picture, which I'm incredibly proud of, because, you know, you take a chance. This was me on a pool. It means I've got to do this for every newspaper in the country and all the agencies. And so I was taking a chance doing this, but it paid off, and it's been used many, many times as well. Queen just looks, you know, you just know it's the Queen. It's her style, her hat. And who else would be taking the salute other than the head of state? A really lovely snap. Well done, man. We've spoken about William early days. I mean, Harry, we never got very many pictures of him, I think, except when he went to nursery and stuff. But Harry, in my view, was a fantastic young man, wonderful young prince. Wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but my God, he was exciting. I remember we went skiing when William and Harry were learning to ski. Harry was skiing within 20 minutes, had no fear whatsoever. William was struggling. Harry's always been taking it and just the initiative and run. And I remember very clearly when we went to Jamaica. Originally Princess Anne was supposed to go, but the Jamaican government lobbied to get a younger member of the royal family, and they got Harry. The big occasion was when he was going to run a race against Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt, there was then the Olympic and world champion, and he was a superstar himself. In fact, almost the biggest star as Harry. But they shape up on the track, and of course Harry had to cheat. And when they lined up to race, before the gun went off, of course Harry shot off, and this picture shows it very, very well. As Usain, he's slumping because he's been done, but Harry just tore away and went through the winning post like this, as though he'd won the Olympic gold medal. But of course, poor old Usain never even started, and I think Usain would have probably caught him if he'd have thought it wasn't a great stunt by Harry. But this young man was just a joy to work with. He was so much fun. He used to say to us, he said, every day when I go out, he said, I try and get you people good pictures. He was determined to do well. He thought, as he was spare to the air, he wasn't relevant, but of course, by the way he operated, he was very relevant. And there was, you know, when Harry went on an overseas visit, everybody went with him, because he was just an absolutely joy to work with. Unfortunately, he chose to leave this country and live in America, and it's a sad loss for the country. It's a sad loss for the royal family. And I hope one day he comes back. I really do, because he in this country was someone special. I think in America he's just another celebrity in a town full of celebrities. Oh, this picture brings back great memories for me as well. This was in the island of Tuvalu. Probably not many people know where Tuvalu is. It's a small island in the Pacific, and South Pacific, and the Queen is head of state there. And during the Diamond Jubilee, the Queen asked all the members of the royal family to go to different parts of the realms, and I got Tuvalu. Well, there was only one person could go on the plane, and I got the ticket. And that evening, all the islanders, Tuvalu is a group of islands, and 8 islands, and they all came together in this huge centre in the capital, and they danced the night away. And it was the only music was drums, and it was dancing, but by God, it was exciting, and the mood of it, and each different island competing against each other. And they got William on the skirt with the grass skirt and with the colour skirt, and Kate as well. And Kate's wearing this beautiful flowers in her hair. And it's just a lovely, lovely picture, and it just the mood, and spraying people with perfume. I remember Kate come and sprayed me with perfume during this. And the only trouble was getting this picture, because the internet was pretty poor, but I'd taken a satellite phone. But the mosquitoes were so fierce at night, I couldn't use the satellite phone. But in my room there was a cable, and I plugged it into the computer, and it worked. And I think I sent 100 pictures of this event out on the pool, because it was every picture was just magical. And I finished at 3 a.m, but of course with the time difference, so far ahead it didn't matter. And the next day we flew to Brisbane, and I'll never forget, as I arrived in Brisbane, all the photographers waiting there, and as I walked by, they would just said wonderful things like, great pictures, Arthur, great pictures, and it really gave me a great buzz. But I've shown this picture many times. Incidentally, there's a funny story about this, because William was wearing this, a headdress like this, the next day, and I photographed it. And on the plane from Tuvalu to Brisbane in Australia, I showed them the pictures. And he saw this picture of himself. He said, "Oh, you didn't send that picture, did you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why?" I said, William was then a search and rescue pilot with the RAF. And he said, all the people at the base will take the mickey out of me. I said, "William," I said, "you're the boss, they can't do that. That won't stop them." He said, "That won't stop them." I said, "Well, it's too late, William, I've already sent it." The big event for me was obviously the Queen, 70 years on the throne, the Platinum Jubilee. And of course, the Queen wasn't very well at the time, and we all knew that. And I got passes for the whole 4 days. I didn't know which day we'd see the Queen. But fortunately, the first day when the great event took place at Buckingham Palace, and she came out on the balcony and she wore this staggering blue outfit. I mean, she looked absolutely fantastic. She was smiling, she was absolutely enjoying the moment. The crowds were huge, 1 million people in the Mall, cheering, waving. Probably the most popular monarch ever in the history of our country. Served the longest, 70 years on the throne. I mean, amazing. And then the royal family joined her, and this is one of my favourite pictures, because this is obviously Prince Charles, Princess of Wales now, but then Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, and her daughter Charlotte, and her youngest son Louis. Everybody's enjoying the moment except Louis. And Louis stole the show. You just could not take your eyes off him. Everybody was enjoying it, but Louis was just so unhappy. He just kept over his ears, screaming, shouting. No matter what Catherine said to him, he just carried on and on and on. The other children would just sort of probably see it all the time with him. They just ignored him. This is a picture where everybody's enjoying the moment except the youngest member of the royal family. But the picture that mattered most to me was this one, of course. This was page 1. This was the Queen with her finger up, and the headline was The One Show. Of course, we put a little picture of Louis here, I remember, on the paper, where he's screaming and shouting, because he almost stole the show, except it hadn't been for the fact that we were saluting this wonderful woman who'd served our country for over 70 years. I think he might have got the page 1. but he didn't, and this is my picture, and I'm so proud of it. Every photographer, every royal photographer, every photographer, when there's a big event like a royal wedding, there's obviously a jubilee, but a great occasion wants to get page one. Page one's the picture. Page one's, you've got to be there. I've got page one with William's wedding. I've had page ones with Andrew's wedding, and I've got page one with the Queen's Jubilee. I also got it in the Diamond Jubilee, but this one was so important because our Queen wasn't very well. We get very, very little time to see her. We only saw her, out of the 4 days we saw her for 2, and the last day only very briefly. But you know, she was a great servant, a great soldier, and she may have not been feeling the great, but you didn't know it. She was just, as always, gave it her best shot for the country. So this is one of my favourite photographs of the Queen too. Well, every year I ask the picture editor asks me what's my ambition for the following year, and every year I used to say the same thing: to cover the coronation of King Charles. I never thought it'd happen. I thought I'd be long retired before that did happen, but then of course we lost our lovely Queen, and he was the king, and the coronation was well planned, but and I wanted to be where I always want for the page one picture, which is the Queen, the King on the balcony wearing the crowns. I didn't get page one because a picture done on a remote camera in Westminster Abbey of the King being anointed was page one. It was a strong picture, and it was the moment he was officially made the king. But this picture made a huge show in the paper because it's the last moment before they went finished, and I stuck with it all the way through. And this both smiling at each other was a brief smile just before they went in, and I got it. And when I saw it, I never forget, it was raining, I was trying to file the picture, and I saw this and my heart leaped because I knew the headline was this, and I put it in the caption: "We've done it, we've done it." You know, the hours and hours of picking the music, the guest list, the clothes to wear, I mean everything, the massive amount of involvement. The military soldiers were flown in from all over the world to cover the events. The trumpeters were in Canada and they had to be brought back straight away. All this was happening, and they'd finally walking off, and they just smiling at each other, and they're saying, "We've done it." And this is just a great tribute to them. This man I greatly admire. I've been working with him, as I say, for many, many years now, and I must have been over 100 countries with him, and some of them many times. But he's a joy to work with. His lovely wife, I mean, you know, he does the heavy stuff and she does the supporting, and she's always there for him. I remember once we're at the Commonwealth Games in India, and he was opening it on behalf of the Queen, and when they went to take the seat in, they tried to put Camilla in a different side of the royal box, and she said, "No, I want to sit next to my husband." And she got up and sat next to him, and it was whoever's sitting with next to Prince Charles got flicked out the door. But she was just there to support him in every possible way. And they're a great team, and they're always laughing together. But this isn't a laugh. This is a smile of relief. We've finally done it. It's over. And you know what? This is probably worth waiting for. I'm now getting to a stage where I'm starting to think about maybe I should hang up my cameras, but when you take pictures like this and you get a great paper, get it in a great paper like the one I work for, and of course when the editor comes up to you and says to you at the end of it, "You've done it again, Arthur, you've done it again." I'm so proud. When I got this job as the royal photographer, I wasn't sure it was for me, but you know, the best thing ever happened to me. I mean, I've travelled the world, working mainly with Prince Charles. He's my hero, you know. I started off, I was very aggressive with him, and he reprimanded me a few times, I must say, severely on a couple of occasions. But slowly I listened to what he was saying, what he was doing, what he was trying to do for the country, and I realised this man was very much a visionary. He was talking about organic food 20 years ago, and now you can't move into supermarkets for organic food. he was talking about complementary medicine. Everybody takes some little supplement somewhere. And of course he went on about poor architecture and many other things that he got criticised for, but he was right. And of course the most important thing was when I used to go to places like Brazil, the Brazilian rainforest, or the Cameroon rainforest, and I watched, begging these people, stop ripping this precious resource out of the ground. And he's right, you see, climate change is on us now, and he's been predicting this for years, and he said it's not just for us, he said, but it's for our children and our grandchildren. And he's been pioneering that forever. And of course, watching this man and seeing how he worked and the fact that we got to like each other, and it was quite amazing. And great moment in my career was about 3 or 4 years ago. We went to Rome, and I never got the pull when he was going to meet the Pope. And all of a sudden I'm standing outside the Vatican, and then the press secretary came out and said, "Put your camera down, come with me." And I walked into the room, and Prince Charles said, "Holy Father, this is the most important man in the room." So because he's been working with me for over 40 years. And I was overwhelmed. I mean, I'm a Catholic, I'm a practicing Catholic, and I never thought this would ever happen, and it did. And I went through, and the Pope was smiling and laughing, Camilla was laughing, everybody was so pleased and saw how I was, and it was wonderful. And I shook the Pope's hand and kissed his ring, and I've never forgotten it. We went back a couple of months later for an ordination in Rome, and an ordination is a massive event on the steps of St. Peter's. And I was talking to the Prince, now our King, at the college afterwards, and he said, "I'm so sorry I couldn't introduce you to Pope today." He said he was very busy. But so it's been a pleasure, and along the way, of course, I've travelled with the Queen, many countries, but the most I've ever done is with our King. I think he's been outstanding, very humble, and he always said, history will judge me. It's very difficult to pick a number one. I think I've done that when I showed you this lovely picture of the Coronation, because that was the thing I always wanted to do, and I got it right. And that gives me more pleasure than anything else, when you get it right, when you trust your own judgment and you get it spot on. Listen, it's been a great adventure. I can't tell you what a great life it's been. I mean, I left school at 15, and I've had a brilliant life. Met some amazing people, been to some amazing places. I've been in the Oval Office 5 times. I've been into the Kremlin, and I've been all these amazing places. I've seen Victoria Falls, I've seen Niagara Falls. It's just been an incredible life. And I look back on these pictures and I think, and they're great memories, it's seared in my mind. I can just remember the day. I can always remember how cold it was or warm it was, and where I was. When you've done a really great picture, well, in my opinion, a great picture, and it's going to steam into the paper, you get such a boost. And the great thing about working for a national newspaper is the instant reward. You go out, you take a picture, it's in the paper, that's your reward, and you start again the next day. And that for me has been an absolute joy.